woman, and the man was called Old Man Store. Okay, picture it. Quite big and attractive older man, and he had a big lazy wife. And back then, you often wouldn't see your husband that often because the husband would be away. He'd either be away at battle or he'd be away up in the hills catching meat to eat. And if he wasn't doing that, he might be off fishing for months. So they wouldn't see each other for quite a long time. So when they did, they like spend a lot of time together to catch up. His wife would tell him all the gossip, about who's snogging who's having an affair with who, all these girls in the chat. The husband would really be listening, he'd just go, yeah. And then the husband would tell the wife about all the battles he'd been in and the heads he'd chopped off and the blood that had splattered. And that's kind of how it went. What they decided to do is they decided to get away from down there. They just had a wee house just down there beyond those trees, and they used to walk up here, and they decided that they'd make it a regular thing. They'd walk up here and they'd sit kind of where we are now, and they'd tell their stories to each other. And they kept doing this, and about the third time they came up, suddenly they noticed this wee man just sitting not very far from them, and it was one of the wee people, okay, and he was just listening to their stories. He loved listening to their stories. He just found them so fascinating. And they said to him, just come up, pull up a stone, come and sit beside us. You can just listen to our stories, So that's what he did. And they came up again, and he listened to them again. And the more they came up, the more he was loving their stories. And more of the wee people were coming out to listen to their stories. Now, eventually, the couple were getting very, very old, okay, and the woman had a dodgy hip, right? And some people found it a struggle to walk up here, and she was finding it a struggle as well. So they came up and they said to all the wee people, really, really sorry, but we're going to have to stop coming up here because I can't cope coming up here with my hip. It's far too strenuous. And the wee people were like, no, we love your stories. We have to keep coming. And they were like, no, we can't come anymore. We're too old for all this. So they said, okay, what we'll do is we'll have a party, and that'll be the last ever time you'll tell your stories, and we'll have a big song and dance. And they were like, right, okay, one more time, and that's it. That's the last that we can come up here. So they went back down, and a few weeks later they came back up for the party. And they were coming up here, and just as they were walking up here, those mountains just opened up, and there was like tons and tons of wee people singing, dancing, doing a little Highland fling, drinking whiskey, eating haggis, having an absolutely brilliant time. And they totally welcomed the old couple in, and they were having a brilliant time. The old couple were telling all their stories, and everyone was listening, cheering, absolutely loving them. Everyone loved them. But eventually, the party was over, and it was time to leave. And this old man and old woman were leaving. They were like, we're really sorry, we have to go now. And they were like, bye. And the king of wee people stood up and was like, wait. And they were like, oh, yeah? And he was like, please, just one more story. So they were like, okay, one more story, and then we have to go. So they went back in, they told their very, very last story to the wee people, and they all cheered, and they were like, yay. And the man were like, hey, and they were waving bye, and they turned around to leave, and they heard lots of whispering like going on behind them. And that's what they weren't talking. And as they took their next step, that was their final step, because the wee people had turned them both into stone, because they were so annoyed that they weren't going to come back. And the stone up there you see, that's the old man of Store, and the one beside it is that's the old woman, and she's actually like broken a wee. It used to be a lot higher. Because of her hip, it's just getting worse and worse and worse. The stone eventually just getting worse and worse. He was losing his love of his life. The tears at the bottom here, there's a lock on the Store lock, and that's only made by the tears of the old man crying for his dear wife.